Let's talk about tax refund season. I feel like we do this every year, and it's always one of the most popular episodes. And I'm kind of excited for this year's, you know, episode. So here we go. Welcome back to the Your Money, Your Life podcast. I'm your host, Aimee Cerka. We are talking about lessons learned from this year's tax refund. So we've done at least one episode on tax refunds every year. Are always one of the most popular episodes that we do. And I'm going to link to last year's, and there'll at least be one more year before because I find that they're going to be helpful. Those are a little bit more on like the strategy behind like how to maximize your refund, and that's definitely important. This year though, I want to talk about some of the lessons that clients and people that I've observed have learned. Okay? So, overall, a lot of people are seeing that their refunds are less. And I guess before we get into that, let's just back up a second. Whether you're paying into whether you're having to pay for like tax season, you're having to pay, or you're getting a refund and how much of a refund you're getting. That's kind of what we're talking about here. But overall, there's been more of a higher tax burden for people. The tax code is not something to be afraid of. The IRS is not something to be afraid of. We talked about that a couple times already this year. Like, this is just like these are the rules that we're following these rules. I don't even want to say this is the law legally because like it's not actually legal. And yeah, okay, that's a whole nother story. But this is what we're dealing with here. And there are strategies to lower your tax liability, and I believe that you should do that and should take advantage of that. That's still here. And this is also why we still talk about tax refunds, because you can like make a decent amount of money and still be eligible for a refund legally, morally, ethically, all those things. Okay. Now that we got that out of the way, let's talk about the refunds. So overall, a lot of people have seen that refunds are less, and a lot of that has to do with several tax law changes that we've like seen, experienced, have been put into effect that we're feeling right now. If your strategy is to have more taken out through the year so that you receive a bigger income. Like, the problem with that, I don't even know that's really a problem. The problem with the way that most people are approaching their tax refund is they're approaching it as guaranteed money. It's not. This is if come. If it comes, then we can do that. Okay. We are not guaranteed this. So when you build your strategy on having a big tax refund on your if come, if this happens, then we'll be set. If we do this, then we're fine. Having it and getting it, that's fantastic, because then that's what can you do with it? Like, counting on it, that's when we get into trouble. And this is the biggest lesson that I've seen that people have to learn this year, is because we've built all of our strategy. Maybe it is we put Christmas on the credit card every year and then we use our tax refund to pay it off. But still counting on if come. So have the plan in place to pay off that thing or buy whatever it is, whatever, especially if it's a need. If it's a want, that's like another thing. Like, just don't get it then. Okay. But if it's something that you need, don't build the strategy around something that's not guaranteed. And having the big tax refund is not guaranteed. And the IRS releasing the big tax refund to you is not guaranteed. There's a million things that can happen between like January and March of next year whenever you get the tax refund from right now. So if your strategy is to have more taken out throughout the year and receive a bigger refund, but still if come, because again, the IRS might find something wrong. They might not release it. Something might happen. They might freeze all tax refunds, whatever it might be. You don't know until you actually receive it. So the smarter strategy there would be have your employer or whoever, when they're writing the pay stub, like just put some away in a savings account, have it direct deposited in a savings account so you don't see it, but then you're still putting it away and you're not, just because essentially you're just having the government hold on to your money. And that's not really a smart move. Definitely not a smart move in my book, because we've seen how they handle money, right? We need to not build our game plan or strategy on income that you haven't received. A lot of entrepreneurs do this as well. It's like, I have had this $1 million launch, but I only received, I don't know, 50,000 of it, right? Those numbers are going to be off. But what have you actually received? The money that you've got in the bank, because we've all heard Stripe, PayPal holding your money, right? Especially PayPal. We've all heard of them holding your money because then it's not your income. You haven't received it. If you don't have it available to spend, don't count on it. Like, it's not something that you should build like your day-to-day strategy of. Like, this whole thing is built on this one thing happening and you receiving that income. And if it doesn't happen, then you're screwed. That's not the way that we need to build things. Yes, there are smart ways to use your refund once you have them. I'll link to those other episodes because that's what we've talked about in years past. I want you to plan for it, but it's not a requirement. It's not something that you need to make life work, okay? Because there were so many posts that I saw this year that, oh, my refund was less and I don't know how I'm going to make it. And that's just heartbreaking. We love to have the plan and be strategic, but build the strategy on money that's guaranteed, not the if come, because you just don't know. You don't know what can happen. When you count on those things, that's when we get into trouble. There is a push pull, like doing the work, which is very much like, in the masculine and working on our numbers and those things, and then being in the feminine and showing up and expecting things to work out. So there is still some of that, yes, and I understand all of that. But you still have to have the work planned out and doing the work and counting on the income. The tax refund is not the doing the work part. Okay. That's what I've got from this year. The biggest thing that I saw was, the refunds were less and it was causing a lot of problems and it was heartbreaking and it just started raining much harder outside. Just interesting timing. Links in the show notes to the episodes that we've done in the years past on tax refunds and maximizing your tax refund, like using it smartly, all of those things. Those were super helpful. So make sure to check those out. And then also in the show notes, if you have not filed your taxes yet, or maybe you did and you want to do better for next year, we'll have resources for you. The Simplifying QuickBooks workshop, that's a no-brainer one. The Money Makeover QuickBooks audit, if you don't know if your books are up to date. And then I will also just include a link to the Q&A call with me. If you're not sure, like, okay, do I need the workshop? Do I need the audit? Do I just need you to help me with my QuickBooks? Because none of it makes sense and I know I have to do better. I will make sure all those links are below in the show notes. That's it for now. We'll see you next time. If you're struggling with shame and guilt around your finances, whether it's debt, impulse spending, mistakes from the past, or the fact that you still haven't hit your income goal, then it's time for you to work with me. There are different levels of support and price points that you can use on the path to removing that guilt and shame so you can step into your unstoppable life. After all, your finances are unique to you, and your support should be too. Go to workwithaimee.com to get started with one of my most popular programs, or you can book a Q&A call with me and we'll figure out what that next step should be. And those links are hanging out in the description of this video as well.